Beck, and we are It's Not About Us and Proverbs Media Group. Welcome to PMG Studios here in Tucson, Arizona. And today I have a very special guest. I have a gentleman by the name of Mr. Glassman, Rodney Glassman. And he is running for Attorney General in the state of Arizona. And as far as I'm concerned, you all need to vote for him. You all need to donate to him. You all need to listen to him because he's going to teach you the truth about what the Attorney General's powers really are and what they do. We need this man. Listen close. Go.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I always have fun with my audience. They know who I am. And they know that, I speak my heart. I'm straight up about things. You are the man for the job. You do understand what you're supposed to do. You know the power that you hold, but you respect it. And I can see that in you because you want to tell the truth in every word that comes out of your mouth. I learned that by visiting this man. And when you talk to somebody who's genuine, you can sense that. They're not just practice. It wasn't canned speech. You won't get that from him. So I want him now to share some of the wonderful things that you shared with me about exactly what the role actually is and how important it is, Rodney.
Well, thank you. The Attorney General for the state of Arizona is the most powerful elected official in the state.
Right.
Think about it. Which from watching our news, we know that the liberal Attorney General that we have now, she wakes up and decides she wants to sue President Trump. She wants to sue him for an executive order saying that if you come here illegally, you have to leave. She sues the administration because they want to shrink the size of government. Chris Mays, the liberal Democrat, sues the administration because they say that only boys should compete against boys and girls should compete against girls. The current Attorney General wakes up and says, I don't like police officers. And then she goes and fights the local police officers for them doing their jobs, pulling people over, asking for their IDs. That's the power of a terrible Attorney General, like the one that we have now, Chris Mays. Did you know that the Attorney General runs the largest law office in the state of Arizona?
No, I did not know that.
Did you know that the Attorney General has over 400 attorneys that work for them and 1,000 support staff?
Wow.
The Attorney General is the largest law office in the state and provides all the legal services for every state agency. So think about the things that impact your daily life. The Department of Education, you have grandkids in schools. The Department of Education for the state of Arizona has no lawyers.
Right. Well, how does the way that the numbers that you gave us, how does that impact the Attorney General? So for instance, if you've got all these hundreds of people under you and they've all been voted in.
No. We as Arizonans have the opportunity to elect our Attorney General. The Attorney General doesn't work for the governor.
I know.
Doesn't work for the legislature.
About the lawyers under them. How did they come in?
They all work at the direction of and are hired by and are fired by the elected Attorney General.
Oh, well, praise the Lord. I love that.
Yeah, no, this one elected office
Yeah.
touches everything in our lives. When you're driving down the freeway, the Department of Transportation for the state of Arizona doesn't have any lawyers. They're all assistant attorney generals. There's over 53,000 realtors. You think about all the real estate going on in our state. 53,000 realtors. The Department of Real Estate, while the real estate commissioner is appointed by the governor, they don't have any attorneys. They're all assistant attorney generals that work at the Department of Real Estate.
Wow.
The Department of Education with all the schools and Superintendent Tom Horn, who's co-chairing my campaign.
Right.
Why is he co-chairing my campaign, the highest ranking Republican in the state? Because as the superintendent of schools running the Department of Education, he doesn't have any lawyers. They're all assistant attorney generals. And so he wants an attorney general, a top attorney, the chief law enforcement officer for the state, to be the kind of lawyer that he would hire. And that's where I come in. My background, in addition to the most important things, obviously being a husband and a father, I'm also lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force JAG Corps Reserve. So I've been in the Air Force for over 16 years.
That gave me chills. That's God telling me, you've already been in a position of high authority and something that you have already had to prove yourself. That means a lot to the people out there. They need to hear these things.
Well, and that means I've also passed a lot of physical tests,
Exactly.
running, push-ups, and sit-ups for 16 years. I got to stay in shape. But I'm also a practicing private attorney too. So I've been an Air Force prosecutor for almost 2 decades, prosecuting drug dealers, financial crimes, and protecting victims of sexual assault.
Right.
But also a private attorney working for business people. So I understand how to practice law. I've been in a courtroom. I've been a prosecutor. People have hired me to do the job. And that's what we need in this most important role, the Attorney General, because remember, I'm not running to be the governor's lawyer.
Right.
And I'm not running to be the legislator's lawyer. I'm running to be your lawyer, the person you call when there's government overreach, who you call when things aren't working, who you call when you need an advocate. And I have this whole team that I'm going to get to work with. And so I'm really excited about our campaign because we are a campaign being driven by the things that are most important. My goal as Attorney General is to protect our police, to protect our kids,
right,
and to protect Arizona's prosperity. And what I mean by that, when I say protect our police, my co-chairman is our Maricopa County Sheriff.
Right.
Jerry Sheridan. He's been in law enforcement for 47 years. Been married for over 37. He's got 2 daughters. So we commiserate on the daughter thing too.
So you've got all of this, people that are running or in office that know the ropes. They've been there. They've done that. They've experienced so many things in life already. And they've shown that they stick with it. They don't walk away.
Long-standing conservative Republicans who want a lawyer that fights for them instead of against them. Think about it. We live in a state where the Department of Justice has been with our liberal attorney general, and we're down here in Pima County, where the liberal county attorney have been trying to put a stranglehold on law enforcement. We need an attorney general that has law enforcement's back every time. When these men and women leave their home, police officers and sheriff's deputies, to risk their lives to protect our families,
right?
The first thing going through their head when they make a split-second decision cannot be, is this the decision that's going to end my career? But if we have these liberals that are attacking them every step of the way, they're thinking these instead of just being able to focus on the job.
On the job, yeah.
On the job. And
on
so
protecting you.
Having an attorney general that stands with law enforcement and with prosecutors is critical. When it comes to protecting our kids, we have 2 little girls. And I firmly believe that a boy, a man, just because they wake up and decide that they're a girl that day, shouldn't be walking into my 12-year-old's bathroom.
Right.
And that's a huge difference between our current attorney general, who think that's okay, the liberal, Chris Mays, and myself. When it comes to strong schools, we need to have strong schools. We need to have schools that are teaching good things, reading,
writing.
Yes, not gender qualification. And but we already have laws on the books as a state, but we have to have someone enforcing those laws.
Exactly.
We have to have someone that's enforcing the laws of our state, that's protecting families, that's educating families on their ability to choose their schools, where they want to go, and making sure that when kids get out of school, that they're still safe.
Right.
That they're safe, that we have great communities. And that's the AG's job, because it's the AG's job to protect our county attorneys, to protect our law enforcement, to protect our streets, and to make sure that we have businesses that can be successful, less government regulation. When the state legislature or a local city tries to create more bureaucracy,
right,
it's the attorney general that can step in and push back on behalf of business, on behalf of consumers. That's what the job is. And that's why we're fighting so hard to get this job. I don't know if you had the chance yet to visit our website. It's rodneyglassman.com, but it's worth checking out because
absolutely,
it's got our policy positions. It also highlights who stands with us. My third campaign chair, we didn't talk about it this morning. is the Senate. It was the former Senate President Karen Fann. You may remember her from Prescott, and you may remember her from the 2020 election.
Yes.
When things went sideways, when Crazy Joe or Sleepy Joe Biden, ended up with all those extra votes,
right?
And everyone was concerned and said, "What happened with this last election in 2020?" Guess who is supposed to be in charge of enforcing Arizona's election laws?
The Attorney General.
The Attorney General. And so it was the Senate President, Karen Fann, who stepped in and tried to add some level of sunlight, tried to add some level of transparency. And so that's why she's co-chairing my campaign as well, because she wants to have an Attorney General, a new Attorney General, who's going to enforce the laws, who's going to enforce the laws when it comes to election integrity as well, because we don't have that right now with our current Attorney General. She doesn't even care if you have an ID to vote. I mean, it is. We were debating before. You called it evil. I called it insane. It's
both.
It's probably a combination of the two. But that's why we need a strong conservative Republican that supports President Trump. Wouldn't it be great to live in a state where our Attorney General was supporting the president's agenda instead of trying to sabotage it?
Absolutely.
And that's what our campaign's about.
And let me talk to you for a minute, okay? You're listening to all this, but you need to understand, my show touches people across this nation. And you're saying, well, why are we talking about Arizona? Arizona is one of the states that everything hinges on. Everything hinges on how we vote in this state. And it has been going south and turning liberal more and more all the time. If you want to help us in Arizona, to help yourself no matter where you live, because what is decided as far as the Attorney General goes is going to affect you. I don't care if you live in Maine or Florida. Please donate to his campaign. How do they do that?
They can visit our website at rodneyglassman.com. We've got a contribution link that can spread the word. But also, Elaine, as you and I see, these lawsuits that attorney generals from across the state, across the country,
right?
These lawsuits that attorney generals from across the country, they team up, these liberals.
Right.
Chris Mays, our liberal attorney general here, doesn't just sue on behalf of Arizona. She joins the attorney general from New York. She joins other attorney generals going after the president, trying to put a chokehold on the hard work and the great work that his administration's doing. And so these AG roles, they've been weaponized by the liberals. Think about over the past 4 years before we got President Trump back in office. Who was able to reach out and attack his family through the long arm of the law? The Attorney General from New York, the Attorney General from Arizona. They're evil.
Yes.
And they're insane. But the reality is we got to get rid of them. But the Attorney General in Arizona can be a champion for President Trump and his administration.
Absolutely.
And so these roles have become national in reach because we have the power to investigate. We have the power to indict. And that's called power, sheer raw power. And we need to use it to support smaller government. We need to use it to support protecting law enforcement. We need to use it. Our girls are 14 and 12.
Right.
We need to use it to protect our kids.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm running. That's why I'm making the sacrifice from my private law practice. That's why while now I'm doing my Air Force work, I'm gonna slow that down too, because there's nothing more important for me as a husband and a father than protecting our way of life for all Arizonans, including our family. And that's why we're doing this. So I appreciate the opportunity to educate a little bit more on this most important job, because remember, we have the governor's race. We have all kinds of races coming up, but the governor cannot investigate the attorney general. The governor cannot indict the attorney general, but the attorney general can investigate and indict the governor, and runs the largest law office in the state with over 400 employees in every state agency. So you remember there used to be something called the Kevin Bacon game, where you toss out a movie and then you kind of tie it back to Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of separation.
Okay.
When it comes to the attorney general's office, it's the same thing. You tell me a problem that you're having or a challenge you're having, whether it's healthcare. The Department of Health Services in the state of Arizona, no attorneys. They're all assistant attorney generals. The state land department, no attorneys. They're all assistant attorney generals, and they all work under the direction of the elected attorney general. And
that's why I said
it's so important. Yes, that is.
We're going to get you elected.
That is why we need everyone's help.
Right.
to get there, to protect our kids, to protect our cops, to protect our prosperity. And that's why over the next year and a half, we're just going to be asking people to vote for me.
Yes, yes. Well, I have some other shows I want to get you on.
I'd love it.
Here locally on radio and stuff. I want you out there all the time. Your name should be a common name in every household in this state by the time it rolls around time for the vote.
Well, that'd be wonderful.
That's what we want. Okay. And I will work hard to make that happen. You are I can tell you're a strong Christian as well.
Actually, I'm Jewish.
Oh, well,
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
So,
yes,
you
yes.
know,
And as is my
see,
wife,
that even,
as are our daughters. In the midst of all this, we're getting ready for a bat mitzvah next fall. So we've got a lot going on.
That even means more to me because, you know, we're a Judeo-Christian country. And I tell everybody that when I was a kid, we were a Judeo-Christian country. We still are. And we need to be fighting for what God says we pray for, which is Jerusalem and Israel and his favored people. And so I'm all behind this. It's all good.
And we're all tied together because
we all have the same God.
I do believe there's a hand guiding us because I was driving home about 2 months ago after dropping my daughter off at a swim practice.
Right.
And I like to jog. I like to stay in shape, especially because of the Air Force PT test, which I have to take. So I have to do a lot of running.
Right.
And I saw some young men. Yeah, I'm 47. So some young men jogging down the street, about 6 of them in a pack. And I rolled down my window and I said, "Oh, are you guys a running group?" And they said, "Yeah, we run 5 miles every Saturday morning. You're welcome to join us." And I'm always looking for running buddies.
Right.
And so I started running with them. And they're all young men who graduated from Grand Canyon University.
Wow.
The fellow who coordinates the whole thing actually runs his own church called Christ Church.
Right.
And so they've got me now reading Proverbs on a daily basis. And so the reality is
isn't that funny? This is Proverbs Media Group.
We are all tied together.
Amen.
Because of our faith, because of our belief in a greater power.
That's right.
And because of the fact that we all care about our families and
that's
our spouses.
Right.
And that's what this is about. It's about
and we
family.
Need to get
it's about
back
faith.
To family.
And it's about talking about it. I've been married to my law school sweetheart, my Jewish lawyer law school sweetheart that I met at the University of Arizona in law school for over 15 years. We have 2 beautiful daughters that are 14 and 12. And so I will be the attorney general that talks about family, that talks about my family, that talks about my faith, that talks about my community work, and that wants to be your lawyer and will do a damn good job. And that's what makes me unique. And that's what's going to make this campaign unique because we're fighting for the things that we all should hold dear. And I'm going to articulate that every day because that's what's most important to me.
Thank you so much. I'm telling you, people, this is the man. You're going to hear more about him on a regular basis through our show and some other shows here. You know, it's not every day that we find somebody who doesn't just love Phoenix, but loves Tucson the way you do, because this was your town for many years and you went to college here, and that college is suffering right now because of what's happening. The people that came across the border, the drugs that are here, we need help. And I believe you're the man for the job.
Thank you
so
much.
God bless you. And we will see you all again soon. And don't forget, you play a part in this. You can make a phone call to a friend and tell them what you heard today. You can share that there's somebody out there willing to fight the battle, that you can't fight yourself every day. But if you don't participate, you don't deserve it. Love you all. Praying for you always. Bye-bye.